All right, we're looking at doing a cylinder head gasket replacement on this Model A engine. And, one of the first things you need to do is pull off the spark plugs, remove the distributor, and then we'll go about removing the water neck and the upper water pipe. And then we can pull off this water neck and then take off the I think it's 14 nuts, and then we'll look at putting it back together. So first we got to tear this down, and then we'll check the surfaces and put it back together. Okay, normally on a Model A you'll have the hood that you have to remove, and there's a little bracket up here on the cowl. There's 2 screws, and you can take those screws off and just lift the hood off. And then these radiator bracket arms, if you disconnect the bracket arms at the radiator here, you could tilt the radiator forward, and that helps you get this upper radiator hose off, because you'll need this upper radiator hose off to get the cylinder head off. So it just makes it a little bit easier if you could tilt the radiator forward just a little bit. And it also helps you clear the water pump when you're taking the head off. It may be a good time, if you have problems with your water pump, to go ahead and rebuild your water pump, or get a rebuilt water pump and put on there, because you'll have it off at the time, and then before you put it back on. You can see I got my head tightening sequence here, and I laid out on a piece of cardboard and numbered them how you're supposed to do, and torque it down multiple stages with a torque wrench. And when it started leaking, I went ahead and backed them all off, retorqued the head, several times, bringing it up to spec, and but it still leaks. So it's not just a loose head gasket. And you ready to get to work, girl? All right, let's get to work. Okay, when you're taking this down, you need to remove the distributor. And take out the spark plugs. Using a 15/16 on the spark plug wrench. Okay, to remove the distributor on a Model A engine, you need a flat tip screwdriver with a long blade that'll fit through this little access through the heater manifold. If you don't have the heater manifold, it's just a regular manifold, makes things a little easier. But then you use a 9/16 wrench to loosen up the lock nut on there. And then you reach through with your screwdriver, and it should be fairly loose, so it shouldn't take a whole lot of effort. And then you can just lift up. There we go. And lift it out of there. Okay. And now we got the distributor out. As long as you don't turn the engine over, you can just set this distributor right back in. Don't turn the distributor, don't turn the engine over. I cranked it over to get it top dead center, to leave it on top dead center, and just pull the distributor out and setting it aside so I don't have to disconnect that cable. Let me screw in for the ignition right there, and because this cable is not in good shape. And so getting ready to go ahead and loosen the head head nuts and pull the head off. So we'll see what it looks like underneath. Okay, I got the head off, and take a look in here. That doesn't look good. I have to look in the head where that came from. And then right here, we got something down in there. I don't know what that is. Either it was in the block or in the radiator. But where it was leaking bad, you can see right there. Let's go at this angle. You can see right there. It's been chewed up. You know, and it may have been from years ago when I was trying to get the head off and prying in there with a screwdriver. But that's probably the problem right there. Yeah, I can see where it's dented. And oh, here's some more garbage. Yeah, it's pretty sooty. I guess the carburetor needs more adjusting. It's kind of carboned up. See over here. So let's see. Yeah, it would have been right here. Let's see, flip it over that way. Yeah, it would have been like right in here. Let me get a straight edge and see what it looks like. Not bad. Yeah, my straight edge isn't that great. It's got some junk on there too. So, you know, it actually looks pretty good across here. And let's check the other side. Yeah, I turned it around. Daisy helped me. Now let's check this other side. Yeah, there's a little bit of crud on there, so it's hard to judge without getting it cleaned. I don't know. I think it's actually pretty good. I think it was just the head gasket. So that's basically how you check the head for warpage. On my dad's truck, we did a straight edge, and you could actually see the warp in it. It probably had 30 thousandths, 40 thousandths. I'm not sure. I got it on video, and but it was noticeable warp, and he had to get it milled. So I think what I'll do is clean it up, clean that up, and I think I have a spare head gasket somewhere. I'll have to dig that out too. So let's get to work. Okay, I got the head gasket off, and you can see where it's coming unlaminated, where it's got the copper gasket and this cork type stuff in between. You can see, like right here, it's coming apart. And I think it was this corner right here that was leaking really bad. And you can see it's kind of, this was how it was. It wasn't like I didn't mangle it getting it off. So right there, you can see it right there. So I think it's about time for a new head gasket. So what I need to do now is clean up this surface, and yeah, if the radiator would have held better, I should have ran some vinegar. And maybe once I get it back together, I'll run some vinegar through to clean up these passages and clean out and kind of pressure flush it also. So let me get this scrubbing the cylinder head. Okay, I got the engine block cleaned up pretty good, and I found something that was interesting. Right, let's see if I can get it on camera. There is like 0.60 thousandths, and on the pistons themselves, found, look at it, over here, 80, and on this one over here is a little easier to read, 80. So that, I guess these are, it's been bored out to 80 thousandths, and I'm not sure if that's which direction that goes. Is that 090 or 060? They don't really have a I don't see like a dot in front of either one, so like 60 thousandths. I'm thinking maybe they decked it and milled off 60 thousandths off the deck and bored it out 80 thousandths and put oversized pistons in it. I have to get the calculator out and figure out, I think these are 205 cubic inch, see if it bumps it up to 206 or something like that. But now I gotta clean it up, get all these little metal flakes and stuff off of it and clean it up really good. And I gotta dig out and see if I can find that cylinder head gasket. I think I have it somewhere. Located the head gasket, and this one's a best gasket 509, and looks like it's in pretty good shape. I think it's brand new. Next step is going to be, I already put the head gasket on there, and I'm going to torque it down. I think I showed in the previous video, I wrote little quick notes here on torque tightening sequence, and yeah, we'll go to 35, 45, and then 55, torquing it down. And I'm going to use some anti-seize on the nuts just to make it easier to come off next time. And we'll just get started on it. Okay, when putting it back together, you're going to need a torque wrench and the tightening sequence. And you can see here, I've looked it up in the manual, and then I've actually copied it over just so I could have something that's a little easier to handle on the engine. But most of the torque wrenches nowadays, they kind of operate like this. You pull this lever down, this sleeve down, and then you rotate the handle to the numbers that you want. So that, let's see, right there. And the old time torque wrenches had a bar with a pointer on it, and it would move back and forth depending on which way you're tightening. And those are a little bit more simpler, and that's, when I was younger, that's what we had. But now these are the ones that they sell, and you tighten until it clicks. So let's get to it. Okay, now using my little sheet here with the proper markings for where the distributor is, we'll dial up. The first setting is 35. So what you do is you pull this collar down and turn it till you get to 25. So that would be 35. And then you go through the numbering sequence. So I had already went through and tightened these, so this is just verifying. And you basically start towards the middle and kind of work your way out. But I'm following the number diagram too that was in the book. CS9. This is 10 and 11, 12, 13, and 14 at the very back. Then what you do is you go to your next setting, which is 45. There's 40. There's 5 more. And you go through the same numbers again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That one. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Then you dial it up to the last sequence, which is 55. Right there. And that's how you do the tightening sequence. Now we just have to put the distributor back in and finish putting it up, put spark plugs and finishing it back up. Okay, now that we got the nuts all torqued down to 55 pounds, we'll go back to put the distributor back in. And you gotta get this little knob into that little hole right there on the head. And see if she drops down. There we go. And then once it's in, be sure to lock it down in place so it doesn't ride up out of there. So you take your screwdriver and tighten that screw on the side there. And you take the lock nut and Lock that down. It just has to be snug tight. It doesn't have to be super tight. You're just keeping the distributor from riding up out of there. So then we put the spark plugs back in and the timing rod, and see if it'll fire back up. There, now we have it back together, and we should be able to test the cylinder head gasket and test start and put some water back in the radiator and check for leaks. That's basically how you replace the head gasket and the torque sequence on the cylinder head, and how to use the torque wrench. Ignition. Hard to spark again. Once it started, I advanced the spark a little bit so you can run better. Well, and head gasket doesn't seem to be leaking, so that's good. There, now we have it back together, and that's basically how you replace the head gasket and the torque sequence on the cylinder head, and how to use the torque wrench. All right, everybody, take care.